Very good. So, Lisa, tell me about the co-op here. Let's start from the beginning and go into what, not even necessarily the beginning of the business, but beginning of the idea. I know it was talking to you not too long ago, was maybe 15 years ago, that kind of the genesis of the idea started.
Yeah, I'm sure it started how I grew up, how I was raised, what I was exposed to, what, my mom loved nature and health food and you know what I mean. But 15 years ago, I really wanted to go further with what I was doing. At that point, I was setting up at farmers markets and doing my own little things. Back then, they didn't even have the food cottage law. I mean, that's, in Texas, it's been quite a few years that's been a thing. But back then, I was able to do mainly organic clothing that I would hand paint that was Texas grown organic cotton. And then I had herb stuff that I could do. And, I was really limited. But I would literally set up at farmers markets in this area, and I would have 4 or 5 different customers throughout a 4-hour period at different times come to me saying, there's no like-minded people here, and this is what I'm looking for. And I thought, no, they are here. I'm seeing all of you,
Yeah.
And so I thought, then I'll gather the community. If it's a need, I'll fill it. Yeah, and that was sort of the beginning of the spark, I guess,
Mm-hmm. The interest in the organic side of things, most everything we eat's got some kind of chemical in it, unless you come to a specialty store like yours.
Right.
So was that something that you kind of brought up with, this idea of, clean living and living off the land, so to speak, and having more pure things go into your body as opposed to processing stuff?
My mom did healthy eating. Of course, this was a different generation.
Right.
And healthy eating back then is fat-free cottage cheese and, fat-free this and, you know what I mean? Full of chemicals. But she did help me value healthy whole foods. And so I kind of had that already ingrained in me a little bit. And then once I got older as an adult, right before I had kids, 25, whatever years ago, I did my research like every new mom to be, going, oh my gosh, I want the best for my baby. And once you start researching food and what's in it, you can't unlearn that. Mm-hmm. What those chemicals do to your body, you can't unlearn that. And I went, wow, eye-opening. Okay, I want better for my babies and now myself and my family. Mm-hmm. And that started the wheels going. And it was interesting because my little ones, both of them had digestive issues, colic that was horrible, just lots of things. And that's when I started realizing, food, what we eat, what I'm eating as mama feeding my babies, greatly influences our body and how we feel and our health. Like that. And I went, so I started eliminating things out of my diet and going, wow, baby's better. Oh, look at that. Bet that works for us when we're sick too.
Yeah.
And there goes more research and there goes more knowledge and more learning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So when you started shifting your diet, did you notice an immediate change or did it take some time for your body to sort of acclimate to the new diet?
I did notice immediate changes, but they weren't enormous changes like, and I'm healed forever with great energy the rest of my life. But I did notice enough. Every time I'd make a change, I'd notice enough of a difference to be motivated to go, what else is there? Mm-hmm. Right? I'll keep doing that. And, honestly, my own health food journey, of course, my kids had all sorts of allergies and I went, we have to not eat that. Try this instead. And then I realized, my kids don't do well with the weird blue dyes and the weird red dyes. They're super hyper, right? Yeah. But then for myself, my own food journey was, I had a lot of health issues that the doctors would call me this mystery. And I literally spent 8 years going to specialists trying to figure it out. They didn't know. And I went, you don't know what I know about my body. So I literally did the research myself and diagnosed myself with celiac disease. Went to a doctor and said, all I need is some lab work done. And he looked at me like, these tests that you're requesting are very obscure, right?
Okay.
And I went, but can you do it? And he went, wow, results, obviously. Oh, you're right. This is it. And how did you note it? Right? Mm-hmm. And of course, diet goes with that because celiac disease happens to be the you can't eat gluten or digest it thing, right? And so I went, well, okay, that's a very obvious one for disease and food, right? Don't do this. It causes that. But then when I realized the rest of my family didn't have it and they were feeling better because the inflammation. Okay. So the motivation just dominoed in a good way. Okay, if we eliminate that and we feel better, what else do we eliminate and we feel better, right? Yeah.
Okay. And so going from changing the lifestyle to starting a business, there's a little bit of a jump there. So before we go into starting your business here, what did you do for a living before that? What was sort of some of your interests that maybe led into this?
So, oh boy. So my degree actually is as a sign language interpreter. Has nothing to do with this, right? Although it has to do with people.
Right.
So obviously, and language and communication. So obviously got that. My background, I grew up, my family owned a radio station, so I grew up with that. My father did a lot in the clothing industry, which sounds a little weird, but then I ended up as a merchandiser for a lot of different companies, and I would go to the big stores and set up and merchandise. So I kind of started piecing together skills, a little from here, a little from that. I learned some communication. My dad had a business degree from Harvard, and we would sit and talk shop, right, for business. And then I learned merchandising, and so I started learning all the business things from a variety of backgrounds.
Okay.
And then, of course, I decided after having kids, I want to be my own boss, as you're raising little ones. And that's when I started doing my own, I'll sell my own sustainable clothing and herb things and do that. And that's when it really took off, the whole thing. So you can kind of see this progression leading to this, know?
Okay. So let's talk about this. What's the name of your business? Where's it located?
So the business is Natural Living Organic Food Co-op and Cafe.
Okay.
And we're located in the historic district of League City. So we're right by that cutesy little railroad park and gazebo right off Main Street. And we're actually in an old historic building from the 40s. Okay. So it kind of goes